Hello, my name is Garrett Hill. I am the head judge for World Skate, and in this video, we are going to be covering the OQS event in Budapest. At the end of this video, you will have a better idea of how the judges evaluated not only the run scores, but some of the single trick scores as well. Starting with women's prelims, we've got some really great skateboarding in this event, and in this round, as always, the main deciding factor on where people ended up on the leaderboard is how many bails they had. So let's focus on some of those runs that are closer to the bubble that didn't make it through to semifinals. So we're going to look at Keat Oldenbuving's run. She placed 17th. Now she started her run with a feeble grind on the big rail, and then a backside 360 on the bump to flat. Then things fell apart a little bit here with a bail on the board slide big spin. That is kind of a cooler trick in her run, so that really did move the needle quite a bit when coming up with her overall score. She picked things up with the half cab crook on the bump to center ledge, and then turned around and got the nose slide on the square rail, which was cool. And then ending with her signature half cab nose 270 on the bump to hubba was a great way to end that. She got a 54.36. Now, besides the bail, which really impacted this run, there were no flip tricks in this run and also no quarter pipe tricks. So the use of the course and the trick selection wasn't really there when we were comparing this run to Sukasem's run. Now, Verira Sukasem got 16th. She did make the cut, and these are very, very similar runs because Sukasem also had a bail in her run. The biggest differences here between Keat's run and Sukasem's run is that Sukasem got a backside 5-0 on the big hubba in, as well as a 50-50 on the center rail that Keat did a nose slide on. Pretty similar tricks, 50-50 being a little bit more difficult. But Sukasem had a kickflip. Not hugely different in technical difficulty, these two runs, but we're looking at the difference of 1 point here, which I think is fair. It shouldn't be any more than 1 point because the technical difficulty is really close on these runs. So if Keat would have landed that move, definitely would have been scored above the 54.36 that she got. In the prelims round, big shout out to Chloe Covell, who came in and qualified first. Lots of kickflip variation tricks, very technically difficult, especially with the frontside nose grind nollie flip out in the middle of her run. The judges and myself absolutely love that. When we see tricks that nobody else is doing, it really helps move the needle on your score. So congrats to her for skating so well in prelims. Moving into the semifinal round for women, we've got great skateboarding as well, so we're going to focus on those runs that made it and the run that was just outside of the bubble. Now, in 9th place, we had Yuanling Zhu from China. She had an overall total of 219 points, which was actually pretty far away from our 8th place rider, Shangxi Kui, who had 227. So there was a pretty big difference here, and that was mainly because in Yuan Ling's run, she had a bail in it, and Kui did not have a bail in her run. She had a fully realized run. Both were really great runs. Both got good scores for what they were, but yeah, Zhu only having a 40 for her run score makes it very difficult to move into the next round. But she had great single tricks, with her use of the switch 50-50, which got an 89.79. That was a great choice for her. Judges love it when you do, especially in the women's section. If you're doing switch front boards, switch 50-50s on the big section rails, we're gonna hook you up. Why? Because nobody else is doing it. It's that simple. So I want to talk real quick about when you do basically what the judges would consider a flat ground trick in your run. We see it a lot in the women's section. We see it sometimes in men as well. If you do a trick off of a bump to flat, it really doesn't move the needle much on your score because there's no risk there. If you do a kickflip off of the bump to flat, it doesn't really greatly improve the overall impression of your run. It's not the same as if you do it up a step up. That's an actual spot on the course and it feels like there's more risk there. So that will move the needle on your score and the judges will take that more seriously. But if you bail on one of those tricks that you're just doing to flat, that will count the same. So the risk versus reward is a little bit out of whack when you do tricks like that. So please keep that in mind, that just because we say as judges, you need a flip trick, you need tricks like this in your run to make it diverse, we don't mean do them on flat ground. So please be careful with that with your strategies moving forward. Best example of this concept is that in Shenshi Kui's run, she does a nollie backside 360 on the bump to flat and almost bails. It was very, very close to being considered a bail. Now, this didn't help her score at all doing this nollie backside 360 because it was basically on flat. But if she would have bailed, it would have docked her overall score down quite a bit. So please keep that in mind with future run strategy. Again, in semifinals, another shout out to Chloe Covell for skating so well. She qualified first again, did all of her moves, and then crushed it in the single trick section. Did so many rad single tricks, including a 50-50 kickflip out on the center rail, which was so sick. She did it perfect. Unfortunately, because she had already done so many kickflips, she did get a repetition rule deduction on this score, which was an 87.84. If she hadn't done so many kickflips, I could have easily seen this being an 89, 90, or maybe even a 91. Moving into the final round of women in Budapest, what a heavy round. This is probably the best skating we have ever seen from the women, which was so sick that this was the caliber and the level that we were seeing leading into Paris 2024. In this round, I'm going to be focusing on our podium skaters, okay? So in third place, we've got Funa Nakayama, who absolutely killed it, had a phenomenal run with no bails, starting with a front crook on the hubba, her signature move, followed up immediately with the crook granite on the long ledge. Very cool two-piece right there. Coming around and just really elevating the overall impression of her run and the technical difficulty of her run by doing a heel foot frontside board slide on the bump to rail. That trick is sick and it's really hard. And when there's barely anybody else doing that, maybe only two other of the women skaters are doing this trick. So for her to do that in the middle of her run, phenomenal choice. She had a really cool two-piece, the backside tail slide, followed by the frontside nose grind, and then ending it strong with a gap to backside lip slide on the big rail. She got a great score for this, put her up at 83.56, which I think is a fair score. If there were more flip tricks and if there were more quarter pipe tricks and more variation in this run, that's exactly the kind of thing that could move her up into the high 80s and possibly the 90s. So moving into the single trick section, again, we're seeing some repetition rule deductions, which is unfortunate, but we have to stay consistent with this. Funa did a front crook on the big rail, but she had already done a front crook in her run. She did it on the big hubba in her run to start it off. Now this is a different spot, but it's the same exact trick. So she did get points taken off of this front crook in the single trick section. She got an 83.22. It's a minor repetition rule deduction amount. So if she hadn't have done the front crook in her run, this score in the single trick section probably would have been closer to 85 or 86. But man, she really made up for it with the heel flip backside lip slide. What a terrifying trick, and seriously huge props to Funa for doing this. Everybody in the judging booth was freaking out over this. Absolutely love seeing the progression of women's skateboarding when tricks like this go down. So we absolutely rewarded this. When you do a trick like this, we are going to hook you up. And she got, fair enough, a 96.84 for this. Huge risk. Ticked all the boxes in the categories that we're looking for. No repetition deductions. Phenomenal job. Congrats to Funa for third. Moving on to our second place rider, Yumika Oda. Huge congratulations to Yumika. Put together a super solid run and got a great score for that. And again, brought in a trick into the single trick section, which made everybody in the panel freak out and jump for joy with this kickflip front feeble. Absolutely love it when Yumika does this. Nobody else can come close to doing this trick, so we love seeing it done. She did it absolutely perfectly, and she got heavily rewarded for it. She got a 95.81. We love giving out scores like this. If you can show the judging panel a trick that has never been done before, or you're the only one by miles that can do this trick, we are gonna hook you up big time. So congrats to her for that. Great strategy, great coaching, great skating. The most interesting thing I think about this final section for the women is that this is the only round that Chloe Covell didn't dominate the competition. She unfortunately had some bails in her run that took her out of the mix for having a shot at the podium, and that opened the door for Koko Yoshizawa to step in and just absolutely put the hammer down. Her run was great. We love this run. Starting strong with a backside Smith grind on the handrail, turning around into a big spin frontside board slide on that center square rail, which was a great choice. Was the only person to kickflip into this bank. Now, normally we don't really focus on tricks that you do on bump to flat, but this felt different as you were kickflipping over the wedge bump into a bank. I thought that was actually pretty cool. Followed up by a back tail on the bump to ledge, and then ending with such a cool way to end this run, ending with a trick that no one is doing, and I don't think anybody's done this before in a run with a nose slide 270 shove it. That was such a cool way to end that run and just a great choice. So congrats to her. That was a very, very good strategy. And Coco coming in as well into that group of skaters who did tricks that no one's seen before. We almost broke the judging booth from stomping and falling over all over each other when she landed this trick. Of course, I'm talking about the big flip frontside board slide down the big rail, 96.12. Absolutely freaking out over that. I think Vanessa almost lost her voice because she was screaming so loud. It's so cool to see tricks like this being done, and it just like, it sets the stage so well for Paris. So congratulations to Coco, congratulations to the rest of the panel and all the other skaters. It was such a fun competition. Everyone crushed it.